Imam, the title that they are given, is the core fundamentals of Sufism. For example, the I'm sure you've heard of Imam Hassan,
Yeah.
the son of Ali radiallahu anhu. He is known as Karim Ahl Bayt, the most generous of the household of the Prophet. Of course, after the Prophet, peace be upon him. Today, generous, when we look at it, we see it from a perspective where it always has to do with money or finances or wealth. Generosity could be that you want something for somebody else that you would like for yourself. So, there's a verse in the Quran where the Ahl Bayt were known for whatever they had in their house, they shared with other people, whether that being knowledge, food, water, whatever. Right? As a Sufi, part of the thing is for you not to be selfish. Right? You don't compete with that. You should compete in a community. For example, you see your brothers, they graduated from school. Okay, wonderful. You should learn from them. You should also graduate from school. You should compete with them in order to better yourself and better those around you. So generosity is basically the same thing and that's a teaching that Isa alayhi salam teaches in the Bible. You will not enter the kingdom of God until you want for your neighbor what you want for yourself. It goes back to generosity. Hussein radiallahu anhu is the personification of Sufism, where what? Even though he was put through tests and trials, sacrificing himself, his family, it was for the sake of God and for the greater good, right? It wasn't for his own selfish desires. It was to attain nearness to God. So Sufi is someone who, one of the rules in all schools of Sufism, they say, is to annihilate yourself. Annihilate by meaning whatever you even hold value close to God, you should get rid of. Because today, for example, they asked Hafiz, they said, what's the best advice you can give me? He says, you should burn 1,000 times in this fire just to have a sip of the wine. Sip of the wine, when they say drunk, being drunkards, it's not a physical thing, it's not a black and white thing. Someone who finds God becomes in such a state that no matter what you give them, nothing pleases them or makes them happier than the fact that they found God. Right? So when you find God, what does he mean by this? What's the philosophy? Look at the prophets, peace be upon them. None of them have faced easy lives. Right? But what's the one thing that kept them going? God. Right? Ali ibn Hussein, who's the son of Hussein ibn Ali, is known as a sajjad, the one who's constantly in prostration. So people ask, they said, what's the natural remedy for depression, for anxiety, for all these problems? I said, sujood. Why? Because anytime someone prays and you're in sajda, it's the one time. Even in the prayer, if you notice, when you pray, 1,000 thoughts come to your mind. Right? Things that you never thought of before, or that haven't been in your mind for 20 years, just magically pop up in namaz. Right?
It's like meditation.
It's like meditation. Well, what's the time in prayer where you don't think about anything? Sujood. You think about things while you're sitting down in attahiyat. You think about things while you're standing up, or whether you are in ruku. When it comes to sajda, everything just blocks out. Because, one, sujood is the closest you can be to God, according to the Prophet Muhammad. The evidence for that is, if you look in the Bible, every single prophet that prayed, their prayer was sajda, which is incredible. So, Ali ibn Hussein is Hussein's son. He's known as Sajjad. He saw his father get killed. He saw his sisters being tortured, prisoner, brothers, sisters died, cousins died. We just hear the stories and we're like, oh man, imagine going through that, right? Look at Palestine today. Imagine being one of those brothers that sees your sister just blow up into pieces, right? Sajjad was such a person that he was the personification of patience. How do you have patience? Submission. Muhammad al-Baqir, who's his son, Baqir means someone who opens knowledge. Someone who basically inherits knowledge. He's known as Baqir Ulum al-Nabiyyin, the one who inherited the knowledge of the prophets. A big part of Sufism, knowledge, yes, you need to go to school to get educated. But the Prophet, sorry, I took a lot of your time.
No,
Prophet says, Sallallahu seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave. Maulana Rumi says, Al-ilm miftah kulli sahada, that knowledge is the key to all happinesses. You're not asking, how old's your age now?
39.
Okay. If you need to do handyman work around the house, but you don't have the knowledge to do it, right? Whether it's fixing electricity, yard work, whatever, right? Will it be easy for you to accomplish what you need to do?
No.
No. When you accomplish something, what happens to you? You become satisfied.
Yeah.
So al-ilm miftahi kulli sahada. That knowledge is the key to all happiness. Without the knowledge to know how to do something, you're going to be basically a person without a GPS trying to get somewhere. Right?
Yeah, useless.
Ja'far as-Sadiq was a person who was always truthful. Today, say you have a good friend. You lose their trust. Some people might get bit by the same snake twice. But if you find valuable people in your life, the one thing that is very hard to get back is their trust once you break it.
Yeah.
How you break their trust? By lying to them. He was known as Sadiq, the truthful. Right? In Sufism,
Ja'far as-Sadiq?
yeah.
I heard, what's his name? Hanafi got a lot of his teachings from him.
Hanafi and Malik were both his students.
Yeah.
Of course, Ja'far as-Sadiq was a person who is from the household of the Prophet, peace be upon him. So that gave him an elevated status. Next to that, he was an alim and a great faqih. His son is known as Musa ibn Ja'far. His title is a Kazim. Kazim is someone who is always calm. They asked Imam Musa, they said, what was the sweetest point of your life? He said, the time of my imprisonment. And they said, wasn't that a tragedy? He says, to you it's a tragedy. But once you find God, nothing is sweeter to you than being alone with God. In prison, I had nobody else around me, so which gave me the opportunity to be in seclusion with God. That is beyond anything we can ever imagine, right? So a Sufi is a lover of God. Imam Rizal, who's his son, is known as the one who is always pleased. Again, going back to submission. And he's also known as Alim Muhammad, the scholar of the household of the Prophet, peace be upon him. So, again, part of Sufism is to always be pleased with what God gives you. Stop thinking about what you don't have and think about what you do have. His son is known as Jawad, again, generosity. His grandson is known as Hadi al-Naqi, the one who is guided and purified. One of my topics this year was, what is purification? What is abominations? Purification comes through knowledge. Your wuzu does not make you pure. Your knowledge makes you pure. What makes you filthy? Ignorance. Right? And the last one is Hasan Zaki al-Askari, the one who's wise. So today, in order to make the right decisions in life, you got to be wise. Look at each imam. Each imam's thing goes back to Sufism. So spirituality is a core of their beliefs. Sufism itself, it's very interesting. Out of the four major, as far as today is concerned, Sufi orders, they all trace back their lineage to Ali. And Ali is the forefather of all these people. So it's incredible where today, if you go to a Sufi center today, they'll look at you, and a lot of them, not all, but a lot of them, you tell them, oh, I'm Shia. They start questioning you. They tell you you're misguided. Right?
Yeah.
See, when you think you're guided and someone else is misguided, it's a sign of arrogance. What made Shaitan leave paradise?
Arrogance. Yeah.
So as far as I'm concerned, a Sufi is someone who dedicates their path to God, right? And God tells you not to be arrogant. Every Sufi order, whether it was Hafiz, Maulana, they were all ulama. Their number one source was the Quran. So if the Quran tells you don't be arrogant, why are you arrogant, right? You're Sufi, oh, I don't like Wahhabis. Again, it's going back to arrogance. Today, you claim yourself to be a Sufi, but you're literally acting upon the number one thing Sufis tell you to abstract from.
That's arrogance.
Arrogance.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting today where I look at it and I'm like, one thing is to call yourself something.
Yeah.
One thing is to actually live up to it. If I swear, if these many people claimed they were Sufi and they were actually Sufis, Afghanistan in its original peak was Sufi.
Yeah, major.
Yeah. Balkh, Herat, Ghazni.
Mazar too.
Yeah. These places, there's a reason. Herat is known as Bostan Herat. Balkh is known as Madar Sharha, the mother of all cities. Ghazni is literally known as Madinatul Awliya, the city of the saints. Afghanistan, until the Russian invasion, was a place where no one cared about what school you followed, what the people who thought like that finally became crazy. And that's unfortunate, where we were the one country that had it right, and then they messed it.
It started like around late 1800s, right?
Exactly.
I don't know what's his name, Rahman Khan?
Yeah.
Rahman Khan.
Yeah.
Started with him.
So, Herat is, a lot of people, I remember Khoja Abdullah Ansari says something very beautiful. He says, Ilahi az dua da panami baram, ya az hardush بدهاست یاری و احسان میخوان. اولا اگر باور کنم که به دست خودم به چیزی رسیدیم، دوم که نسبت به حق دارم. Says, oh God, I seek refuge from two things. One, that I ever reached anywhere on my own. Today, for example, you see a lot of kids, they'll never say it, but the way they live their life is like, I did everything on my own. In reality, you don't look at the core fundamentals your parents provided you to even get to where you did. If they didn't give you a roof, if they didn't work hard to provide a roof over your head, good luck. They didn't work hard to provide you food and water, good luck, right? You look at, if God were to take away that roof, that food, that water, that finance to put you in school, you're not getting anywhere in life, right? You forget that. And who made your parents do all these things? Who made them a means for this? God. Basically saying, I don't have the right to question anything that you put in my life, because you know what's best for me better than I do. Right? Imagine you live your life that type of way. Just those two munajat, those two advices, telling you that you should be grateful for 1 second. Sorry. Assalamu alaikum.